How would you feel if your wages were taxed, but you were not allowed to vote? You know, like taxation without representation? You would probably be pretty upset, right? Well, I'm here today to talk about lowering the voting age to 16. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, in 2019, approximately 1.8 million Americans experienced this exact scenario, and I'm sure most of you probably fell into this category when you were younger. As a voter, this deeply troubles me. Besides the literal taxation without representation, I'm sure many Americans are concerned with 16 and 17-year-olds' ability to make informed political decisions. Let's begin by addressing the taxation without representation. We need to allow 16 and 17-year-olds to voice their opinion if they will be directly affected by political decisions. As stated earlier, approximately 1.8 million documented workers in the United States are between the ages of 16 and 18. These citizens must rely on their families and community to keep their best interests in mind while at the polls, which may not always coincide with their own personal beliefs. Even if these young adults need to be able to represent themselves, they surely aren't mature enough to do so, right? Actually, this seems to be propaganda with no actual validity, and this mentality needs to be abandoned. According to an article published by the Annals of the American Academy of Political and Social Science, 16-year-olds demonstrated similar understanding of civic and political knowledge to adults aged 19 to 30. Even with this information, Maryland seems to be the only state that grants 16-year-olds the ability to vote in all elections. So how can we resolve this issue? Simple. Just lower the voting age. Okay, I understand that it isn't that simple. However, a more reasonable solution wouldn't be very difficult to implement. Areas where 16-year-olds are allowed to vote can be slowly integrated throughout the country, and we can start collecting data on any effects noticed in these areas. This would also introduce 16 and 17-year-olds to the process of voting, help develop a habit of voting, and allow these young adults to have a voice in their community. So, what kind of changes could we expect if these changes are enacted? With these changes, we would see a world where 16 and 17-year-olds can voice their own political opinion. This could lead to a more adapt society for young adults, such as better and more personalized schooling systems, as students could vote for their own school board members, for example. Eventually, people will think that it was crazy that 16-year-olds didn't have the right to vote, similar to how we feel about 18 to 20-year-olds who just gained the right to vote less than 50 years ago, women and minorities. Without enacting these changes, life as we know it stays relatively the same. Workers under the age of 18 remain having their wages taxed without being able to represent themselves through elections. Okay, so by now you're surely convinced that we need to lower the voting age to 16, right? But what can you do about it? Enacting change may be easier than you think. Simply contact your legislator or local representative. From here, your job is done, and the next step is almost ironic, as the idea will then be voted on. If you are unsure how to contact your representative, there are many ways to find their information, such as the Find Your Representative option on house.gov. So where does that leave us? Well, with relatively little effort, you can help millions of Americans gain the right to represent themselves and prove that they are mature enough to make political decisions. I would love to see a world where more of my neighbors can go out and get a sticker similar to this one and be able to proudly show it off, showing that they voted. So please, help us finally end the fight our forefathers started at the beginning and creation of this country, and end taxation without representation in our country. Thank you.